I'm Jim Czek. You're watching Kelowna Now. I'm here again with Liz Sage from Team Fitness. And today, instead of like working out in your studio, we're going to work out here. We're going to work out our minds because we're going to talk mental fitness.
We are going to talk mental fitness.
An area that most people probably don't understand, but you're going to explain it to us and how mental fitness is so important.
Exactly. Yes, so we're not going to confuse this with mental illness. However, our mental fitness is a big part of us staying physically fit, and staying physically fit is helping our mental fitness as well.
That's getting you to the gym. Like if the mental part of you doesn't want to do it, you're not going, right?
We have a saying that the heaviest weight in the gym is the front door. Right? Because isn't it true? It's like
or that foot in your back to get out of the bed.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Half the battle is getting there, getting somewhere, getting to whatever it is that your activity is, particularly if it's a day-to-day, consistent effort of getting strong, cardio strong, muscle strong, that sort of thing.
It's that building that habit though too, right? Like building like how can you push yourself until that habit is formed, then it gets easier, right? But until you build that habit, it takes a lot of mental toughness to kind of get there.
Yeah. But it's true. There are lots of people who are, struggling in many different ways to have put a regular fitness routine into their life. They know on an intelligent level that exercise makes pretty much everything better, right? There's,
enjoy life way better.
I mean, critical disease aside, where you physically can't exercise. Aside from that, it doesn't matter what what it is. Exercise makes everything better. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mobility, especially as we age, mobility and able to do different things, and then obviously catching yourself when you're in a fall.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the things that I notice in my practice is that there are people who are so hard on themselves mentally, emotionally, and you wouldn't do the same thing if you were at the gym. So if you're working out at the gym and you find that you just don't really have it in the tank today, it's just kind of like, oh, well, I'll just, do what I can, cut my reps a little short, maybe, take one set out, only, jog 20 minutes instead of 30. But it's not a berating afterwards. It's just you show up, you meet yourself where you're at, and, you still want to push yourself to get improvements. But on some days, we just give ourselves some grace, right? Mm-hmm. And why can't we do that with our mental fitness, right? And so, because there's some days where we just don't have our best mentally, emotionally, and for all kinds of reasons, right? I mean, a lot of people don't know that I'm a clinical counselor as well as a kinesiologist, and I do kind of work both of the mental and the physical fitness a lot when I work with behavioral change with clients. And there is a difference of mindset with somebody who is going to be more successful emotionally and physically by giving themselves grace when things get hard, because life is hard, right? It just is hard. And so when it is hard, we have to be able to, have our resilience to know that it's just for now. And again, we're talking outside of, mental illness, but the days where it's hard and things have happened and we're experiencing, some kind of emotional distress, that we remind ourselves that we can just back off a little, right? That it's okay. Instead of, being really hard on ourselves, the negative talk, the hiding, the not talking about it with friends and or people who they trust, counselors or whomever that they can trust. So if we can give ourselves some grace on that emotional side, that mental fitness side, it can really do wonders to help keep us going in that physical side as well.
Yeah, I find that most people, the toughest thing to do is to start. And I know I've done fitness stuff in spurts throughout life. And I do remember going to the wide H2O for a long time. I went there probably for 4 or 5 years. But my workouts got shorter and shorter and shorter. My pool time got longer and longer and longer. And my pool time got shorter even after that to the hot tub time. So it turned into mostly a hot tub visit. so I would end up like at the end at like a 10-minute workout and then go down to the pool swim only one lap at the end and then sit in the hot tub for 40 minutes.
And so why do you think that was happening?
I don't know. I just don't think I was seeing the results that I thought. And I just thought, like, the effort I was putting in wasn't really paying off.
Okay.
And so I just thought, I'm still coming. Like, I'm like, just going to the gym was enough. Do you know what I mean? You're breathing the air.
You were
right?
checking the box off.
Right.
It's like,
you're
okay, I'm
breathing the
good
air.
today.
You're doing okay, right?
All right.
And then you just don't see the difference really. So then you're just kind of like, like, why put all that effort in when I could have that hour and a half back?
Right. And what are you going to do with that hour and a half?
Sleep. I don't know.
Right. Well, yeah, that's a good thing for our mental fitness and our physical fitness. Okay. So let's back up here. So what I would, kind of encourage. So if something like that is happening or happened, I would want to find out the why. That's why I asked you. But that's one of the first things we want to ask ourselves is, what is the why for our physical fitness, and how is our mental fitness inhibiting us to be able to work on our physical fitness? So when you see yourself sliding back from something that you were doing regularly, so I would say to you, okay, so what is it that you wanted but weren't getting out of that time that you were spending and that effort and that energy?
Yeah, I think I was going because I thought should go.
Okay.
And not.
Okay, so stop you there. So why do you think you should go?
Well, I just thought, you should work out. That's
why.
Well, I mean, that's what people say.
No, there's more. Say more. Okay, why? What do people say about why you should work out?
Well, so you're more fit, or like you.
But
feel
why is
better,
it important to be more fit?
Better health.
And what's important about better health?
Live longer.
And what's important about living longer?
Be with your family.
Okay. And what's important about being with your family?
Help.
Well, say more about that. Help.
Well, help them through life too.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
and why is it important
be there
to help
to support them?
And why is that important to you?
I think that's my purpose in life.
Boom.
There you go. I finally got that.
We're going through the layers of the onion, but this is so important, and this is kind of the mental fitness that I like to encourage my clients to be thinking about. They're coming for there's lots of goals. I want to lose weight. I want to get stronger. I want to run a 5K. I want to do the wine country marathon, half marathon with my kids. There's all kinds of goals. Yeah. The goals are supporting, though, a bigger picture. Right. And that's the why. That's the value around health. And so we just went through the layers of all that. And so now when you don't feel like doing something or you feel like you're sliding, then you have this sort of mental support around, okay, well, I'm doing this not just for the six-pack or the weight loss or fitting into these, outfits or a wedding dress, which are all important goals because those are also making us feel good about where we're going in our direction. But the bigger picture is, why is that important to you? Why is it important that you lose the weight? Why is it important that you be stronger? So in our, space, we tend to work with more of the mature population, so 50, 55 plus a lot of the times, and their whys are so much different now than they were, 20 years ago, right? And even 10 years ago, some, right? So we're trying to dig into, okay, what's that why? And when they aren't feeling that they're, in a place where they're supporting the physical fitness, they can start to, ask the questions about, okay, so what's happening? Why is it that I'm not as motivated or as inspired? And what was my why to begin with? So not necessarily about the goal, but it's the process of the journey of being physically active is really what the goal is. So the journey is the goal. The goal is the journey, not this outcome that's over here. I mean, the outcomes are there because they're carrots, right? So they help pull us along, and we get to check the boxes, right?
I think I felt tired most of the time too. Like, I'm mentally tired, I guess, because then I would get tired and just feel exhausted. So then the workouts got smaller and smaller. I'm just like, I'm so tired. And then the hot tub felt like, I feel better
Relaxation.
in the hot tub, right? So.
Okay, so now we would look at why were you so tired?
Yeah, I don't know. Just that I don't have the answer to, because now when I go and work out, I feel invigorated and I feel like I go for, like even when I started downstairs, I could, like 15 minutes, that was my workout. And now it's like an hour and 20, hour and 30. And I feel pretty energized after the workout as opposed to tired.
I like that you brought this thing up about being tired, because that's when we look at the mental fitness, right? And certainly, when we have that lag, there's reason for it. People might not be sleeping well. There may be stress in their life. Some people may be so overwhelmed that they just can't. They just physically and emotionally cannot even think about anything else. Like their bandwidth is so far stretched that, they, at the end of the day or through the day even, it's like stop. I got nothing left, which is the definition of being overwhelmed, right? And the solution is, in the words of Brene Brown, who's great at the language of emotion, so she just says nothingness. Like that's the answer to overwhelmness, right? Because that allows us to then sort of regroup,
And I can play off that, because I think the biggest change in my life came from when I figured out that I need to find Zen somehow, the nothingness that you talk about, right? How to turn it off, like my phone, I flip it over at 7 or 8 or whatever, and I don't allow, even when somebody wants to start a discussion about something that I can't do anything about it, 8 o'clock at night, or you know what I mean? Like I don't need it to go to sleep with, right? So just that can wait. And I've learned to think of things like, kind of like when I took my coaching levels, when they said, like the 24-hour rule kind of thing, just leave it and see how important it is tomorrow.
That's right.
Right? Because a lot of things we get worked up on aren't that important, right? In the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah.
So.
And not even just the importance of it, but also this demand for now, right? Like instant gratification, instant response. Sometimes, you're answering client emails or texts or whatever, requests of any kind outside of a business day. And that's on you, the person who's actually answering it, because you are giving them permission now by answering it to do it again, right? So having those boundaries with your mental fitness, with your, your emotional bandwidth, so that you have parameters to make it clear that this is when I am now in balancing something else, balancing family, rest, rejuvenation, being able to rebuild my mental fitness and take time for physical fitness or physical activity, regardless of what that is.
People get irritated with me and just like, why are you so zen? Like, stop, right? Like, just like, I'm not getting worked out.
It's a great place to be. I mean, certainly, with I've had my own experiences in the last 6-7 months where, starting up a new space, it's like starting a business all over again, and being so stretched, from one end to the other all day long, and with people, not just with business
You're
tasks.
careful of any missteps.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
with people themselves. And when you're around a lot of people, it's a tax. It's not only taxing to be around people and create energy between them, but in the career that I'm in, I'm also generating energy for them as well.
Right, because they're asking you for some of your energy,
they're expecting
and involving you in their lives.
Precisely.
And everything.
Exactly.
Right? So,
and that's, of course, what it's all about. That said, there's a point at which you can only give so much of yourself. And I've had a hard time the last little while really coming to terms with that, because while I needed to do a lot of that for, obvious reasons, there's still a point which is that that bandwidth that you get to when there's nothing left, that's seriously, sort of getting on the edge of that mental fitness and emotional fitness, to the point sometimes where mental health is really being taxed and challenged. So we do want to make sure that we are, thinking about how we come into the space in terms of our mental wellness, because it directly relates to our physical wellness. And as you said, that purpose for you is now pulling you along to be consistent and continually grow, not only in terms of your education around physical fitness, but also your participation in physical fitness.
I like to think of it as like I have a mission statement for myself. Do you know what I mean? So
I
can always ask the question to the mission statement.
Yep.
Should I do that? And I look at the mission statement like, no, that's a bad idea, right?
Exactly.
So if you look at that, and if you find a mission statement for yourself, whatever that mission statement is, your primary function is, in Star Trek, we talked about Star Trek. What is the prime directive?
It's prime directive.
What is your prime directive?
Yep.
And then if you just take any questions, should I do drugs? Probably not going to help the mission statement, right? So And it really becomes easy. And I've worked with a few organizations too, and that didn't have a strong mission statement, or they had something that they thought was cute or whatever, right? But you should be able to ask any question to the mission statement, whether that's a company or yourself, and the answer is right there, right? It's right there. It requires almost zero thought, right? So that'll free your mind from a lot of stuff, I think. And I think mental fitness for a lot of people is what holds them back from the physical side of it.
I agree. Yeah, I do agree. And, we broached that a little bit before we went on air, that, sometimes for people, it's just getting started, getting them out of the house, even that thought of, contemplating, and putting some steps into the process of getting up and going for a walk after dinner, or starting their day with some physical activity, rather than just racing out the door, staying up too late, being on devices and not getting good sleep. All of those things are going to impact our mental fitness.
And I think
too.
sometimes people get stuck in the detail, and they focus on details. And then as opposed to, like, if they just looked at their mission statement and said, does this further my mission, or does it take from my mission?
Yeah.
And it's just simple yes or no, right? Like,
yeah,
and
it's
then
true.
You just have to kind of work towards it. And you got to train yourself, because it's so easy not to look at that and just look at the moment. I'll do tomorrow, I'll do the next day, I'll do, like, procrastinate and not do anything. And I think that is the tough one for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that, the mission statement is the why, right? It's the, why, and actually there's Simon Sinek's book.
I was just going to say, the why, right?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Start with why. and that's, has been directed more to corporations and businesses, which is, and it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal read. But it also can be, transported into your personal life.
Because you are the CEO of your own life and the board of directors.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people around you that are kind of like
That's
players that are just trying to control your life.
That's exactly true. Yeah.
So as a CEO, you can exercise control of your life, or allow others to control your life.
Yeah. So a lot of the challenges that I see with people is that they don't know. They literally don't know why they're doing what they're doing. And having really good insight into what that is can really drive your behaviors. And like you say, you look at a vision statement, mission statement for your personal life as well as your corporation, likely, and that's going to direct you. If people can just ask those questions, why am I doing this, and then go through the layers. So when I just kept going and going and going with my questions to you, all of a sudden you got down to what's called a value, right? And so we're looking at our values are on the top, the goals are in the middle, and the behavior or action steps are on the bottom. So our action steps support the goals, and the goals support the value, right? So if we have a value around health and fitness, or mental health and fitness, then we want to discern, okay, well, what things are going to help me, have healthy mental fitness, healthy physical fitness, and we can come up with several different, goals, right? And then we take those goals and we look at 3 or 4 action steps that support those goals, right? So you changed eventually that pattern of, you were working out and then you waned yourself to the hot tub, and then you came back. I'm curious to know, was that around the same time that you had talked about making the change with
my weight?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'd basically fallen off the deep end at that point now, because I'd quit working out, and I'd had a job where I was traveling out of town and had access to so much food, and I was working 16-hour days, and in Toronto and in a camp and stuff like that, and I'd put on 50 pounds, and I think I was changing colors, like turning a gray color, right? I had 3 cell phones, and it was like a high stress environment, right?
Yeah.
And then I thought that, like, at my age, which was 10 years ago now almost, right, with that, there's nothing I can do about my physical fitness. This is my body. This is my lot in life, and just suck it up.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know any better. I just thought it was impossible. And I think a lot of people think it's impossible.
Yeah.
So you just deal with the lot you have. Because I did try, like, false starts. I did try a couple things. Tried to, like, diet, which didn't work at all.
So let me ask you then. So what was it that you decided for yourself in terms of your why, where the change started to be more consistent and you believed that you could? What was that for you? What was your why?
I knew I needed to do something because like I was
Why?
like, well, I just think that I had to, like, my life would be shorter if I didn't do something better. And I think I would not leave the children and stuff and that in a good place if I was to just allow my life to be kind of like, let it happen.
Right. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
instead
do.
of just let life happen as opposed to take the wheel. There's a song, right?
Yeah, there is.
I think it was time
Carrie
for me to
Underwood.
take the wheel, right? So, and then understand that. And it was there was kind of like an epiphany moment, right? Because I found some doctor online or whatever, and he said, cut wheat and sugar. Because I didn't think I could lose the weight. So I cut wheat and sugar, which dramatically dropped weight for me, like dramatically. And then that allowed me to think, okay, so that's pretty impressive change, right? And then I started working out, and then the workouts got bigger and stronger.
Right.
And,
Okay, so
and then
the
you
point
just kind of like
so
built on it.
the point I want to make here is that prior to you coming up with solutions, right? Because that's ultimately, that's what I do. I find solutions for people, right? So around physical fitness and mental fitness. So so when you decided that you were going to make a change, then you went looking for the solutions. But you have to get to that place where you believe you can, first of all, and that you want it, and you know why you want it.
Yeah, I think I was standing at the edge of the cliff and looking into the abyss. Do you know what I mean? Like, is this the lot that I want for my life? Do you know what I mean? Like, is this it? And
But
I
there
don't
was
think
more
that was
though.
enough, though.
So you pushed yourself a little more, because as I asked you questions, it got down to family and the meaning around family to you, and that became, you know, one of the catalysts for you to get the energy and the inspiration and inner motivation to start putting things into action. So then you went down the road of, okay, well, one of the goals is I need to lose weight, right? Body fat. And then in that particular goal, the action steps were, well, one of them was wheat and sugar. Okay. What was another one?
Starting to work out.
Okay. So, and that looked like more what?
More
movement.
Movement,
So,
yeah, mobility,
activity
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
movement.
yeah.
So some weights, potentially some cardio, like different things. And again, those would be action steps that you could carve out, you know, solutions and bite size. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing kind of thing. It can be, you know, we talked about this months ago, you know, 1% change of many things can be a 12 to 20% change. And all of a sudden you're moving the needle and things are feeling good, right?
Yeah, and I think for me, like I took some courses too on habits and rituals too, and putting more habits and rituals into my life that were positive as opposed to negative. Because you know, everybody has habits.
Yeah.
Some of them likely are negative for a lot of people, and replacing negative ones with positive ones. I think like 5 iced coffees a day. I would say it's probably
that's a little too many.
a bad habit.
A little bit.
5 Coca-Colas a day.
Yeah.
Probably a bad
Yeah,
habit.
I knew
Because that's what I
someone who
was at,
drank
right?
2
And I
liters.
ate out probably twice a day. Like, you know what I mean? I was eating out twice a day, consuming a lot of Coca-Cola, consuming a lot of iced coffees, and, you know, like eating candy.
So again, that would be one of the solutions, right? In your action steps. The action steps would be changing habits, and in fact, we want to like blow up and push out the bad habits and not even replace. We just want to create new habits. But we don't want to have like a same thing with beliefs. You know, a lot of beliefs around that are driven into us from our, you know, our own upbringings and the influences of environments that we've been around. We don't want to, you know, change our beliefs. We want to like blow up the beliefs and knock them out and then just create new ones that work for us now where we are today. So same thing for you. You're creating habits that are healthy habits and noticing what the old, you know, unhealthy habits were. And James Clear talks about this in his book. We've mentioned it many times. James Clear, Atomic Habits, a must read for anybody who, you know, is looking for long-time growth, whereby you are actually looking at all of the things you do in a day and just noting them down. You know, it seems like a real tedious task, but it's interesting how much you will learn about unhealthy behaviors just by mapping out your day, what you do. And all of a sudden you'll start to go, wow, there's a lot in there that doesn't need to be in there because it's not healthy for me. And so it's that whole noticing, and I think that's part of mental fitness, is you don't know that you don't know till you don't know it. Right. And that's with you and me. When we started doing some things together and working, you know, you were still doing great things. You had great, you movement and success in terms of your physical fitness, but yet tweaking things and understanding things a little bit better, all of a sudden, what happens?
Yeah, I think you become a sum of the parts that you're kind of connected with, though, too, right? And I think the connection with you has taken me to a different level again. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think the network that you surround yourself with definitely affects your well-being in so many different ways, right? So having, like, you have how many years of experience doing this? Like a lot, right? And I don't, right? So having that experience in different parts of your life, like whether that's, your mental fitness, your physical fitness, and even your financial fitness, because that's another thing that
For
people
sure.
need to talk about, right? Is how do you benefit from each other, and but it's a symbiotic relationship where you're kind of like feeding each other and helping. I think that finding people that can help you help them, do you know what I mean? Like where you're kind of like helping each other.
That's right.
It's such a beneficial thing to people, right? So you become, I guess this, if you hang around with 5 people that smoke, you're likely going to smoke.
Yeah.
Right. You hang around people that drink a lot, you're likely going to drink a lot.
I say to a lot of people, you want to be a cowboy, you hang with cowboys.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're influenced by people's lifestyles. And I think that's one of the other things that I often hear myself say is I ask people, like, look in your world, and who out there in the world that you are associated with, do you admire their lifestyles? Like, and what is it about their lifestyle that you admire and feel like, oh, I'd love to be able to do that, or I want to do that, or that's really great, or this is that. And then you note what those things are, and then you start to think about, okay, if that is what I want, that's over here, it's the outcome. What kind of a journey, and I work backwards, do I need to have in order to get here?
Yeah, reverse engineer.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I didn't want to probably say this on air, but I mean, it's so important, I think, that I've been working out again the last probably 5 or 6 years, and that's when I started working on that gym that you're in. And I think I plateaued because I was doing a regular routine. I was in a 4-day rotation. It was kind of a regular routine, and I was kind of like staying kind of where I was at. And then just recently with you, this is all since, like this past year, I guess, and I have made such advancements, and I'm not even like, it's in the body fat percentage, it's in the muscle definition, and then it's in the muscle gain and the mobility and the strength and very little back issues, where I used to get like 4 or 5 back issues a year. So huge, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's coming from the experience that you have to kind of like get me out of that plateau, right? So there's so much information out there, connecting with people and getting you to another level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, and you're, at a different level than a lot of people. And that's great to hear that, had that success, even at the point where you were quite successful with, your fitness goals. And so, the people that are out there and really struggling, emotionally as well as physically to start something new, that one thing about the whole just do it kind of thing can really be annoying to hear. But the reality is that you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great.
Yep.
Right. And it's the consistency of just showing up average, even below average, turns into average just eventually, right? Well, it does. Like, you don't have to even be average. You show up below average, but you keep showing up and you have some help. And I love what you said about helping, like people helping each other. Like, that's a big part of mental fitness. When you don't feel like you are doing great with that, if you can think about who you can help be better at what they're doing, there's just this, osmosis of feeling better because you're helping others. And I think that's a big part of why I do what I do. Helping others makes me feel better
There's
about
another
me.
good song, Lean on Me.
You're coming up all with them today. It's true.
It is definitely, some people need more support in the beginning for sure than they do.
They do.
And especially if they're not, you gain confidence. Confidence is everything too, I think, right?
Well,
so
that's great that you mentioned confidence, because when I go through the whys with people and I try to get down to the brass tacks, so many, and I'm like 90% of a lot of the people that I work with now and have in the past, it comes down to those kinds of values. They want to have confidence, not only you know, in their physical capacity, but in their ability to do things and be, you know, do more things, be better at what they do, and have a lot more ease in which they do it. And that confidence to do those things then spins off into their mental fitness, because the confidence in their body turns into confidence in themselves and their self-esteem and their self-efficacy. And before you know it, they're trying things that they never thought they'd try.
Physical fitness will provide you with confidence, but it'll also provide you with that mental fitness. And it's vice versa though. You need both, right? So it's like kind of like you got to tug each other along, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, hurry up, go get my mental fitness, right?
Well, we said that earlier. We said, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And I do think they really help one another. When people are challenged, though, emotionally, getting some help on bringing that up a little bit and finding solutions, as opposed to just giving up and giving in to that hardship of whatever it is. It's because they're not talking about it, right? And I mean, you got to talk to somebody that you trust, obviously, but more conversation around why is it so hard? Why are you in where you're at? What are some solutions then now from that we can help you?
And then some people have some injuries with their bodies as they get older, and you just got to work around those things, right? Obviously, you know, I have a bit of a thing with one wrist, right? So,
exactly.
But you kind of figure out a way to kind of work with that, right? So,
yeah, and some people really focus on what they can't do, and some people can't do a lot because of certain circumstances. And, I empathize with that. And I have my own challenges physically as well. But there's so much still that they can do. And if that's true for you, then we got to capitalize on the cans and not the can-nots.
Is there any kind of like starter kit for anybody if they're kind of stuck? If they want to work out, they know they want to, but they just can't commit to it. Do you know what I mean? Like they say they're too busy, or they're too... There's a million excuses, right? I remember when I quit smoking, I was like 26, 27, and I thought of like 5 good reasons to quit when I was quitting. After I'd quit for a week, I thought of 100 reasons why I should smoke, right? Do you know what I mean? 'Cause it was just like, I deserve it. It's not going to hurt me.
Are those real reasons?
No, they weren't.
Again, it goes.
I don't know who's deciding those reasons.
It goes down to the why.
Yeah, for sure.
Why
and then
are you smoking?
It's coming up with that motivation somehow, right? To understand it.
Well,
right?
motivation is intrinsic, right? And motivation follows action. You can't just wish motivation to happen, right? You've got to start for it to get momentum and continue onwards, where we can be highly motivated. And I think you've made a good point that, lots of people are stuck. And again, it's asking ourselves why. Like, why are we staying where we are when there are choices that we can make that can take us to another place? But sometimes we need help discerning all of that. And it's not the answer. It's really, are you asking the right question, to get the answer to propel you forward?
And as an accountant, one of the things that I think really helps me, it's a piece of paper and a pen. Do you know what I mean? Writing down the goals and objectives. And keep writing until you write all your goals down. Write them all down, and then sort through them, and then prioritize those goals. Yeah. And then the other thing is, like, write down your assets and liabilities, not financial, but what's good in life and what's terrible, and to start recording that and starting to understand where you're at,
where it's coming from.
Yeah. And then what I do, and I've been doing this for many years now, is I write my goals out every week, and then I track them every day. I write, like, I kind of journal a little bit, and then I track my goals. And if I look at something like over weeks and I haven't done anything, do I really want that goal? Because I'm not doing anything about it, right? So then I can either move that goal off there, or say, hey, like, why aren't we doing that, right? And I found that really helped with my fitness. So on my fitness one, I have a workout thing, and I rank myself on my workout for the day, like every day, whether that was a good workout or a bad workout. And my nutrition for the day.
No workout is a bad workout.
Yeah, and my nutrition. Well, that was I ate out. I would say that's a bad day, right, for me now, right? So or did I make a healthy choice?
Yeah, you can still make healthy choices. Absolutely. Yeah.
But it's hard when you're at Cheesecake Cafe.
It's true, but it's possible. You just have to stay away from the cheesecake, or maybe just a little sliver.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Well, that yes, yeah. So that last little bit that you said there around, what's the kickstart? Where can people start? And I think one of the places to start is to ask the questions why. And if anybody wants a little bit of a worksheet to kind of help get that boost, to just DM me at teamfitnessbc.com, message, whatever, and I will send that to them. They can put a comment on this feed, and I will send it to them. And it's just a way to kind of like, let's just start things moving and see where you are. What's your why?
And we're going to wrap this up because Liz has to be somewhere. And for sure, we're going to put a link in here and a form there too. If you have questions for Liz or you need that jumpstart, take it from me. I thought I was in a good place, and obviously I got to a better place, right? So I think you can always get better, right? It's constant improvement. That's another thing.
It's a growth mindset for sure, and I think that helps our mental
better every day.
fitness.
That's my motto too, right? Be better every day, right?
Yeah.
So, and I compete with myself, so that's the best competition, because if you're competing with the other people on Instagram, you're going to lose.
We don't want to compare. It's unnecessary to compare for sure. Yeah.
And I thank you again, Liz.
Thank you, Jim.
And thank you for watching Kelowna Now.